Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. Today's big stories. Lands Ministry says recent ban on mining in forest reserves and water bodies making an impact as majority of miners in the Ashanti and Western North regions have removed their equipment. High Court acquits and discharges Boko Central MP Mahama Ayariga of charges of using public office for profit leveled against him by Office of Special Prosecutor. We have details. And Ghana prepares to bring second round of COVID-19 vaccinations after receiving 350,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines under the COVAX platform.
We are still trying to procure more. The issue is that now, the supply condition in the world has changed.
We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Also across the world on Facebook and myjoyonline.com. My name is Daniel Daze. Let's start with COVID. And Ghana has begun preparations to administer the second doses of the vaccines to persons who took their first AstraZeneca jabs in March. The country took delivery of 350,000 doses of the vaccines today. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, was at the Kotoka International Airport when officials from the Ministry of Health, UNICEF and the FDA took delivery of the consignment.
Just behind me, you can see the Turkish airline, which brought in the vaccines, 350,000 of them. The offloading just finished, and I take you here. The vaccines are being loaded onto these vans to be sent to the Ghana Health Service storage facilities at Kolebu, and then the redistribution will begin. It is 350,000 out of about 850,000 that inoculations that we've done for the first round of vaccinations. Ghana need to give everybody who did the first round of vaccinations a second jab. That has also delayed. And so there will be a difference of 500,000 doses to be given. We've not been told yet how the 500,000 will be procured. But that's hope amid uncertainty as 350,000 vaccines are offloaded from the Turkish aircraft at the Kotoka International Airport. They are Ghana's share of some 1.3 million doses originally sent to the Democratic Republic of Congo, but had to be reallocated to Ghana and 5 other African countries under the COVAX platform. Those vaccines would have to be used before they expire on June 24. Chief Director at the Health Ministry, Kwabna Bwedu Okwafari, received the consignment on behalf of the Health Minister.
Those are 350,000 of AstraZeneca vaccines, which the origin is from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but as part of the COVAX vaccines that were distributed to African countries. We've taken delivery of those so we can start with the second dose of vaccination for those who started. And we are still hoping that very soon we'll be able to get more, especially for those who are going to do the second vaccination.
Nearly 850,000 persons have so far received their first jabs of AstraZeneca vaccines in Ghana and were scheduled to receive their second doses after 8 weeks. But challenges with the procurement systems have forced health officials to extend this by another 4 weeks. Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu is the first to admit the challenges.
We have faced challenges with vaccine availability and payment structures and things like that. It is a difficult challenge. The vaccines we were expecting to be delivered by COVAX in April and May have delayed because of challenges in India. India has stopped exports, and therefore we can't have access to AstraZeneca any longer.
As officials prepare to start the second round of inoculations, it is still unclear which of the 850,000 persons who took the first jabs will get to take the second. Kwabna Bwedu Okwafere is hopeful the country can bring in more AstraZeneca doses to cover all those who've taken their first jabs.
We are still trying to procure more. The issue is that now, the supply condition in the world has changed. The vaccine market has become very tight. India, that is actually producing most of the AstraZeneca vaccines, are in a very dire situation, and therefore most of the exports from India have ceased. But we're still hoping that the COVAX platform will be able to give us some more. We are still engaging with them, and we believe that they will be able to give us what we require. Not only COVAX, but we are trying all over. We are in touch with the UK, we are in touch with the manufacturers themselves, and we hope that we'll be able to get the amount required to be able to do the second vaccine.
Ghana plans to vaccinate 20 million of its 31 million population by end of the year to achieve herd immunity. It's unclear if this plan is still on course following the difficulties suffered by the procurement systems. Fred Smith, JoyNews.
Away from vaccines, the Lands Ministry is excited as the immediate gains its government's ban on mining in forest reserves and water bodies has shocked. The majority of miners in Ashanti and Western North regions have removed their equipment from the reserves as per directives that took effect less than a week ago. Listen to the Deputy Lands Minister nominee, Benito Owusubio. To view in just a moment, but my colleague Ohiming Teria joined the minister to tour some areas, and he has joined us via Zoom. Ohiming, what more can you report? Right, Ohiming, please open your microphones so we can hear you. Right, there seems to be a slight glitch with our technical lines there. We will get back to Ohiming. Now, viewers would recall that initially the Land and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo declared that it was now illegal to mine in forest reserves even if you had an exploration license from the Minerals Commission. What he did was he declared a freeze on it. Soon after that, 200 military officials were deployed to ensure that mining in water bodies, which is illegal already, is not done. The videos you see on your screen are of some excavators which are being set ablaze on site, a decision government has taken following the difficulty it has faced in the past with tracking the seized excavators used by illegal miners. We will now reconnect with Ohiming Teria and get the latest from him as he joined the Deputy Minister Designate on tour. Ohiming, tell us what the minister observed and what were his thoughts. Right, Ohiming Teria, our man in the Ashanti region, will soon be joining us now. Of course, the Deputy Minister Designate, Benito Owusubio, has been speaking to him. We understand Ohiming has rejoined us. Ohiming Teria, please go ahead. We'll go back to Ohiming soon. Now, government has deployed over 300 guards to patrol rivers as part of its efforts to reclaim the water bodies polluted as a result of illegal mining. Now, the Deputy Minister Designate for Land and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka, says the guards will be trained by the Marine Police to detect and report activities of illegal miners. He said this when officials of the University of Mines and Technology demonstrated to him a new method of cleaning the country's water bodies. Watch this.
The University of Mines and Technology spent 1 year to develop and test the technology. A test was first conducted in the Prop Basin to find out how it would assist in cleaning the country's water bodies. Vice-Chancellor of the school, Richard Kwesi, who led the demonstration, assured government of the usefulness of the technology and explained how it would work.
There are particles that can settle by themselves when they fall into water. And there are particles that need to be helped to.
We will bring you the rest of that report later in the bulletin, but Ohiming has joined us. Ohiming, tell us about the Deputy Minister's tour.
Thank you, Daniel. It was actually a tour by the Deputy Lands Minister designate with the officials of the Forestry Commission to inspect and see how the illegal miners had complied with government's directive on them to evacuate from mining sites that have been operating in forest reserves and then river bodies. So it was more or less a fact-finding tour to ascertain whether the illegal miners had complied. And with the 7 forest reserves that we visited, it was only one forest reserve, that is the Oda Forest Reserve in Ashanti region, that we actually found some excavators and dozers on site. Even when then the Deputy Minister, Benito Usubio, said he suspects these equipments are being used by the illegal miners at night. So he said what the team has found, they will forward the information to the Minister for Lands and then to the National Security Apparatus for an action to be taken on this particular incident. But we've been to the Subin shelter bed in Ashanti, and then also Bosomchin Forest Reserve, all in Ashanti region, then Tunnel of Fin. All these places were empty. It was only these 2 places, the Odan River Forest Reserve and then the Tunnel of Fin River Forest Reserve. That is where 2 excavators were burnt by the team. So apart from this, in Ashanti region, we didn't find any illegal miners on site. Though they were on site, though, but in the other forest reserve instance, for instance, the private security personnel employed by the mining firm to protect their equipment were people who were around. And then in the Western North region, the team visited 2 forest reserves, the Afao Hills Forest Reserve and the Anyaso East Forest Reserve. In all these places, the team didn't find any illegal miner on site. They've already evacuated their equipment, and at a point, you could see that they've been off from site for some time. And the forestry officials tells me in these 2 forest reserves, they carried some exercises in February, and they also burnt 2 excavators. So the site of these 2 excavators greet any casual visitor to the forest reserve where the illegal miners had operated and also evacuated. But another incident that came up strongly is the fact that most of these equipments that have been evacuated from the forest reserves are being kept at the fringes of the forest reserve. In some instances, they are very close. Some are just at the boundary line of the forest reserve. And the Chief Executive for Forestry Commission, John Alote, expressed some fear that he feared that these people, when they are allowed, the likelihood of them moving to the forest reserve to mine, for instance, in the night, is very high. And so he promised to also relay information to the minister, to the National Security Apparatus, for also a discussion on this one to enforce the ban strictly, and also task the district forest managers to be on the lookout and monitor the movement of these illegal miners as far as the evacuation of the equipment are concerned, so that they can also alert them, the headquarters, and also take action on this particular incident. And so this was what we also picked from the trip. And later, in the Western North region, the team visited the president of the National House of Chiefs, who is also the paramount chief of Sehi Anyaso, or Jahoho Yajibi II. and he expressed concern that in as much as government is prepared to burn down these excavators from the forest reserves, he supports the idea and promised the support of the National House of Chiefs and Anonymous as far as the fight of the illegal miners is concerned.
I mean, you mentioned earlier that some illegal miners were seen in some of the forest reserves. Were any arrests made?
No, no one was arrested. Like I said, it was a fact-finding mission. And once the team take information from the security personnel working for this private mining firm in the Oda River Forest Reserve, the indication was that the team will follow up and pass on the information to the national security apparatus. The deputy minister was a bit concerned that with two excavators that were spotted on the mining site, they were out of reach. They have been parked just beyond the banks of the Oda stream, which makes it difficult for the team to follow up to the scene. So he says he was going to relay the information to the minister because he suspects the illegal miners use these equipment at night to explore, gold from the forest reserve. So he insists that this is something that the ministry will take it up. So as we speak now, no arrest has been made as far as the toll is concerned.
Ohiming, we understand that after the 200 military personnel were deployed to guard the water bodies, 200 police personnel have also been deployed. Did the minister shed some light on why this deployment was done?
Not at all. The minister did not provide any information or speak to this issue, but I must say on the day 2 of our tour to the Western North, then we did meet some police officers, and they had already branded themselves in uniforms. That's an inscription read Vanguard. So I suspect probably they are part of the 200 police personnel that government is deploying to these illegal mining sites in the forest reserves. So on that matter, on that subject, the minister did not mention, say anything on that one.
Ohiming, thank you very much for those updates. Let's now take you back to the Western region, where the University of Mines and Technology is deploying a new technology to clean water bodies. Watch this.
University of Mines and Technology spent 1 year to develop and test the technology. A test was first conducted in the Prop Basin to find out how it would assist in cleaning the country's water bodies. Vice-Chancellor of the school, Richard Kwesi-Amankwa, who led the demonstration, assured government of the usefulness of the technology and explained how it would work.
There are particles that can settle by themselves when they fall into water. And there are particles that need to be helped to settle. And the ones that we see in our waters are particles that need help to settle. So when we say they need help, some of these particles have got charges. So because of the charges, they remain in suspension. The chemicals we are going to use would neutralize the charges on the particles and force them to settle. So we have to estimate, for instance, the volume of water in the Pra River, and we know that it's around 5 million cubic meters. So knowing how much you need for 1 cubic meter, you can estimate how much you will need for 5 million cubic meters.
Is it for free?
Certainly cannot be for free.
He is also certain that the water would be safe for drinking after the purification exercise.
The suspended solids, once they start maybe falling into the bottom of the river, naturally they will occupy space. But in terms of maybe causing the river to die, as you put it, no, there's no way they can do that. Indeed, the current situation can cause the river to have challenges than when we start solving it. Because if you clear it, then sunlight can penetrate through the river, the fishes can have more life, the grass and everything inside the river can have more life. This current situation is worse than what we are going to do. Ours is much, much better. There will be no problem. Even if you take a sample of the water and you run a multi-element test on it, none of the elements you see in the water would have any adverse effect on human life or even fish life or even grass-like.
Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka, who is excited about this technology, observed that 300 river guards are being deployed to patrol the river bodies. In his view, the deployment is to realize the objectives of the technology.
You know, Pra is now cleaned. There's no mining activity ongoing in the river Pra. And I can tell you, we're going to also institute the river guards, who will also be continuously protecting our river bodies for sustainability. So it's not a matter of a 9-day wonder activity. We're going to have boats provided, drones will be patrolling, post officers at vantage points, and they can also report accordingly to the appropriate authorities. We're recruiting from along the villages of the river value chain.
So they're coming from the communities?
From the communities. We're not sending anybody from, where we don't have river, but they need to protect from where they live so that they can practically be monitoring day in, day out. So we getting them, collaborating with the chiefs and opinion leaders to get them, and people who will also be ready to work and protect these river bodies.
So how many are we looking at?
We're looking at, piloting the PRA for now and take it from there. So we're looking at getting no less than 300 for a start.
Now, still on illegal mining, President of the National House of Chiefs has hit back at critics of the government's decision to destroy equipment used in illegal mining operations in forest and river bodies. Ojiahoho Yaojebi II describes the confiscation of mining equipment as timely and prudent. He made the call when the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, John Alate, paid a courtesy call on him at his palace at Tefi. Ahiaso Ohiming Teria reports.
Team from the Forestry Commission has been in the region to ascertain compliance with government's ban on mining in forest reserves and water bodies. Ojiahoho Yaojebi, the paramount chief of Seri Anwiaso, promised the support of the National House of Chiefs in the fight against illegal mining. He wants all attention focused on the sustainable fight against illegal mining.
We should all come together and drive these people from the forest and river bodies. Government has been criticized for burning mining equipment in the forest. Some suggest the equipment could be used for the benefit of the country. I disagree with these criticisms. Do you remember the story of the 400 seized excavators? How would we account for many if we cannot even account for those few ones that were seized? Assuming Ojiahoho hires someone's excavator for illegal activity, I would be held liable instead of the state. Simply because I have no legal backing, no dealer would approve of the use of his equipment in illegality. I saw several excavators on the Nyinahini Bibiani stretch. The ban is already yielding positive results. You should intensify the fight because you have our support.
Ojiahoho Yaojebi also expects chiefs to be involved in the allocation of mining lease and the enforcement of laws against illegal mining in the future. He wants traditional leaders involved in illegal mining named and shamed.
Nananum, who are the owners of the land, including the Adikrofo, must also be involved in the grant of the licenses so that we'll be able to identify which company, which person is working in Area A or Area B. Fourthly, Nananum in that vein should also be part of the enforcement group. So our laws on enforcement on the grant of this should all be reviewed to involve Nanano.
Chief Executive of Forestry Commission, John Alate, commended Ojiahoho Yaojebi for his support in the preservation of forest resources.
For any the support or the program running at this point to make sure that we remove all the machines, excavators, dozers, and other structures forest more than as for the advisor or the amaya and the support for the ministry to be able to embark on that program. And as you say, at the Council of State meeting, on promising say for the Green Ghana program, or best supply a large quantity of seedlings for free. All the man in Crawford, or sign advising how to go about the whole program be successful.
From Sehui Anyaso in the Western North region for Joy News, Ohimi Interior reporting.
Now, away from that story, Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga is today a free man. And Accra High Court has acquitted and discharged him of charges, including the use of public office for private gain leveled against him by the Office of Special Prosecutor. Former Cocoa Board Chief Executive Dr. Steve Kwabena Opuni has meanwhile been ordered by an Accra High Court to open his defense since the state has successfully led evidence requiring his response in an alleged 217 million Ghana cedi financial loss case. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
Clearly to me, you're not seeking justice. You're not seeking to do justice.
What is it? What would you call this then?
Well, maybe a father finding a way to teach his son how to live and the lessons of life. I don't know, but I don't believe that that's justice.
Is it a witch hunt?
I feel hunted. There's no doubt about that. Whether he's a witch is another matter, but I feel hunted.
Mr. Ayariga's role in the purchase of an ambulance for the Boku Municipal Assembly is the first and only case that was filed by then Special Prosecutor Martin Amidi shortly after taking office. Mr. Ayariga had insisted there was no case against him. He was accused of instigating and encouraging the purchase of an ambulance for the Boko Municipal Assembly without following the procedure provided for in the Public Procurement Act. He was also alleged to have used various public funds to pay for the ambulance, yet misrepresented that he used his personal resources. His lawyers, shortly after the state had finished calling witnesses to testify, urged the court to acquit and discharge him. They argued that no evidence had been led to show that he instigated a said breach of the procurement law. They urged the court to acquit and discharge him. This was upheld by Justice Sewa Ifia Asaribotre, discharging and acquitting the Boko Central legislator. Another case that was dealt with on Friday is the case of former Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni. He has been standing trial since 2017 on allegations that he aided businessman Seydou Agongo to defraud the state of millions of cedis. The state closed its case and Dr. Opuni stated that no evidence had been led in support of the allegations to merit his response. The court, presided over by Justice Clemens Onyenugan, disagreed and has ordered that he opens his defense. Justice Onyenugan said he is convinced that out of the 27 charges leveled against the accused persons, the state has successfully proved that they have a case to answer for 24 of them. The case has therefore been adjourned to May 17 for Dr. Kwabena Opuni to open his defense.
You're still live on The Pulse with me, Daniel Daze. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the chief of Edumasa at Asansia Joabeng is said to have ordered the demolition of a school building in order to construct his palace. Children in kindergarten returned from midterm with no space to learn, compelling management of Edumasa RC Primary School to suspend classes. Head of the Bretio clan of Edumasa, Nana Jechian Ponsa, who led the demolition, claims he acted under the instruction of the chief. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko visited the school and filed this report.
This structure used to house children in the KG1 and 2. After a rainstorm ripped off the roof, school authorities were compelled to build this temporary structure to house the children. But when school reopened, the structure had been demolished. The room, which contains learning materials, had its roof ripped off, destroying some of the items.
So 2 weeks ago, when the Edumasa RC KG1 and 2 were on midterms, the chief of Edumasa, Nana Opong, tasked some men to rip off the roofing of this room, which is the office and holds valuable learning materials for the children. And so, the learning materials, books, assessment items, learning textbooks, valuable to the education of children, were exposed to the rains. And some of them, as you can see, have already started deteriorating. So as we speak, this office and its materials in here, exercise books, trunks, other things belonging to the children, remain exposed to the vagaries of the weather.
KG 1 and 2 children were sent home on Wednesday due to lack of classroom. Some parents are incensed.
About
a week ago, some men started demolishing the structure. They claimed it was the directive of the chief. I was very troubled when I heard this because the kids will have nowhere to study.
The chief of Edumasa, Nanayao Opon, admits he has plans to use the land to build a palace. He, however, says he did not instruct the demolition of the school structure. This, however, contradicts the stance of the head of the Bretio clan of Edumasa, who supervised the demolition. Nana Jeche Amponsa says he was ordered by the Edumasa chief to pull down the structure.
The community contributed to build a place for the kids when their numbers increased. Recently, the chief informed me that the roof has been ripped off, and he has informed the district assembly, who has given him the nod to demolish the structure because of developed cracks. So the chief paid the carpenters and only took care of the materials.
These stranded children were sent home as management of the school struggles to find temporal space to accommodate them.
The foundation of this country, the children who are supposed to take over from us, are the ones who used to occupy this space. But now, due to the elements, there is no roofing for where they will sit and learn. Until somebody, an institution or government, sees the plight of these children as an emergency, school is closed for the KG1, KG2 pupils of the Edumasa RC Primary School. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Edumasa, Ashanti region.
Now, a middle-aged man who attempted to help retrieve a 10-year-old boy who drowned at the Dafiama Dachala Dam in the Dafiama Bosie Isa district met his untimely death when he also got drowned in the dam. Simon Wile, who hails from Duong in the DBI district, was on his way to Aulo and upon reaching Dafiama, decided to join the search team to look for a 10-year-old boy, Joseph Sunday, who drowned on Tuesday. When the lifeless body of Joseph was retrieved, Simon could not be found. Afiq Salam reports.
10-year-old Joseph Sunday returned from school Tuesday afternoon, changed his school uniform to mufti, and confided in his father, Sunday Sabawe, that he was joining his colleagues at the Danchala Dam site to pick shea nut.
I did see a garden and a dampo, sia. A tanga can be a dampo, sia. A man lady.
There's a shea tree closer to the dam. That bears good shea fruit.
So, another man there's an
I was here when the stepmother came and told me that Joseph went into the dam with a friend and he got drowned.
Little did he know that those were the last words from his primary 3 son, whom he described as very respectful and intelligent, and his death has turned his world upside down.
I'm feeling bad. I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling happy. I'm feeling sorry.
Joseph Sunday later joined one of his friends to the Danchala Dam, constructed under the One Village One Dam initiative of the government to swim using jaded logs cut from shade trees.
What I'm holding on is a branch of a tree, and I can tell you that it weighs about 40 kilograms, and that's what is used by the pupils to do the swimming. This is a branch of a tree that was cut around. They brought it into the dam and then used as a boat. And so the unfortunate thing happened yesterday at the Fiema Danchala. Two boys came into the dam to do swimming, and then they jumped into these branches of the trees that are dotted across the dam, and unfortunately one got drawn.
Assemblyman for the Fiema South electoral area, Tibu Solomon, told me how the incident occurred.
The wood logs that are lying around this area, that is what they use in swimming. They use them as their boat in swimming. They get pleasure in it. And unfortunately, then the sad incident happened.
Personnel from the Dafima will say Issa District DBI National Disaster Management Organization, NADMU, were called to the scene to help retrieve the body, and for several hours they were not making any headway. They sought for local support and local divers from Chare before they could step foot on the dam. A middle-aged man, Simon Willie, who hailed from Doom, was passing to the Olo community and heard of the unfortunate incident. David Kumbini is the Dafima Bure Issa District Director of NADMU.
Unfortunately, he couldn't also make it. So the same day we continued the search and the rescue, we couldn't because it was beyond us. We equally had to reach out to the experts again to come. In fact, I wish you were here early to see the wonders of God. Our local people have something good for us. We need to use them.
The incident, according to the Dafima Bure Issa District NADMU Director, overstretches personnel to their elastic limit and therefore call for the need to have a well-equipped search and rescue team.
Not just a team by name, team that are specialized and skillful. That we don't pray, but when the unfortunate happened, at least we ran after them for their assistance. Yesterday, for instance, I made calls all over the region, other areas, thinking we could get people, but at the distance, it wasn't that possible. But we're lucky our brothers from Chare actually was able to save us from the woeful situation.
The lifeless body of 10-year-old Joseph Sunday was retrieved late Wednesday and has since been buried at his native Dafiema, whilst that of Simon Wele had been moved to Dung for burial. DBI District Chief Executive Nadimoro Sanda, who visited the scene of the incident and the family of Joseph Sunday, is downhearted. He hinted of measures that the assembly would put in place to halt future occurrences.
Let me first of all say my condolences to the bereaved family. And as I said, we've just retrieved the bodies. We're going to sit down as a people and plan and take measures such that such incidents will not happen again. Especially, we will talk to the GES to make sure that students who go to school around this enclave return to their parents, and their parents should also take keen interest in taking care of their children.
I'm currently at the Fiema Tendamba DA Primary School, and I'm with class 3 pupils of the school. Under normal circumstances, this is supposed to be the class of Joseph Sunday, but the unfortunate thing happened. His friends, his close allies are telling me what transpired. The games they used to play together, and they will surely miss him. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam, Dafiema Danchala.
We should be very slow to prevent people from demonstrating. That's the call from private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, who has criticized the government for not allowing campaigners of Fix the Country protest to go ahead with their planned demonstration. The police, who had earlier invited the campaigners for a meeting yesterday, sought a High Court injunction against the planned march. The move has been described by some lawyers as strange. We'll hear from them shortly, but first, here's a wrap of how this social media protest evolved over the week.
The hashtag was Fix the Country, and then other people started pulling out pictures from their communities, and they also started posting it along. And in the end, we had over 450,000 tweets. We were trending worldwide #1.
Joshua Boydo, one of many social media users who set the hashtag in motion.
And so the job is done. I don't feel like a hero because the hashtag can die any moment, and then we'll be back to zero. So I want to see results.
It became a full-blown agitation for better standards of living. Hike in fuel prices, unstable power and water supply, among a litany of other social challenges, were labelled as problems government was required to fix. Fix yourself became an almost immediate counter hashtag. A tweet by Nsawam Edwejiri MP Frank Anodompre incurred the wrath of the protesting social media users. He tweeted, quote, "Take notice of these two," unquote, alongside a photograph that had the following statements. "Fix the country, Jimie. You don't pay your taxes, you politicize every good policy." He has since apologized, adding that he understands the concerns of the campaigners.
I think it's a question of time. I'm very confident that all of us, and here I'm not putting responsibility on any minister, I think that all of us in position of influence, all of us have a role to play to ensure that as a country we come atop this concern and deal with it.
That did not end the counter hashtags. Nana is fixing it, and Let's Fix Ghana Together popped up as the governing MPP's officials joined the discussion to defend the government's record and commitment to dealing with the matter.
The Akufo-Addo government has on no occasion turned its back towards fixing the problems of our nation.
The social media protest took a different twist as the Ghana Police Service was notified of a street march slated for May 9th. The police service, however, said it is unable to provide protection, adding COVID-19 restrictions remained in force.
They were informed of our inability to give them the necessary protection until such a time that the restrictions are lifted.
The protesters fired back, saying they will not back down.
We know of no law that prohibits us from doing so.
A high-powered government delegation comprising national security, defense, and interior and justice ministers met the protesters yesterday. But while the meeting was ongoing,
tonight, police secure restraining order stopping Fix the Country protesters from embarking on a planned protest this Sunday.
The police secured an injunction to stop the May 9th march. However, the protesters say they will push to have this court order set aside.
This court order will not prevent us from exercising our right, and therefore we would seek to set aside this court order by appealing to the same judicial process that the police has used.
Meanwhile, private legal practitioner Samson Ladi Ayenini has described the ex parte injunction granted by the High Court Justice Ruby Aite as strange.
On this particular injunction, there is everything strange about the length of the subsistence of the prohibition as granted by the court. With the greatest of respect to the court, there is a problem.
On public gatherings are listed. Look, the law passed by Parliament, very lousy legislation passed by them, which empowers the president to issue restrictions. It's not pandemic specific. All over the world, they have passed pandemic specific legislation, which legislations die as long as the pandemic dies. This one, we have passed it as a substantive law. So it is pandemic neutral, and anybody can use it for eternity. So if you say until it is over, it means that what you are giving could actually be in perpetuity. And that is where I think that if they went back to the court, they will get the court to vacate this order, because this order does not comply with the sound principles of law as even enunciated by the Supreme Court. According to the Supreme Court, you can't grant an ex parte injunction and make the order appear as if there is no limit to the order. So this is bizarre. This is strange. and it ought not happen in the exercise of a democratic right.
Martin Pebu disagrees, or he agrees, pardon me. He's also asking government to allow the protests to go ahead in the same manner other protests were allowed under other administrations.
As you've already said, to the extent that they were talking, there was no need for this ex-party. That the police went to court alone without serving copies on the Fix the Country demo organizers. That's a lot of bad faith. Bad faith. It doesn't bode well for our democracy. And to make matters worse, you see, earlier there had been a decision, in 2015, you know, this Let My Vote Count people had gone to court against a similar practice by the police. And Justice Dennis J., Justice of the Court of Appeal, but he was sitting in the High Court, gave a judgment in which he said that no, it's wrong for the police to go ex-party. Why the rush? You serve them. You know, under the law, the Chief Justice has the power to empanel the court to sit at any time, even midnight, any time. I know recently the Chief Justice did a very marvelous job. He empaneled the court to sit on Saturday, 23rd of April, and the alleged coup plotters case. Yeah, he empaneled the court. So once the Chief Justice has the power to do empanel the court at any time, you don't rush. Yes, we know today is Friday. Saturday, Sunday, the court can sit at any time. So what the police have done is a lot of bad faith. It doesn't bode well for our democracy. You know, this reminds me of the time of President Mills. You remember this Alliance for Accountable Governance, AFAG. You know, at that time, current Attorney General was one of the organizers. The police sought to do such a thing and didn't want them to demonstrate. So President Mills stepped in and said, no, he doesn't want any strictures. The police should allow the demonstrators to go on their demonstration. I remember Attorney General Dami even coming to say, why should President Mills step in? But the president did. He said, look, he's not interested in any strictures. Police should provide security for the demonstrators to demonstrate. You say, yeah, so what the police have done, they've gone back like 10 steps.
Let's go back to Sir Dennis Ajay's decision again, where he described such actions as a crude approach which should not be encouraged. It was a High Court decision, but I thought the reasoning we all did agree was good and valid. Why would another judge take a different approach?
Well, that's a $1 million question, you say. But if we are providing legal answers, the easy to provide will be that one High Court decision does not bind the other court. You say that's an easy answer in the textbook. But, you know, we are building a democracy. As you rightly said, everybody reading Sir Dennis Ajay's judgment, finds it very progressive. You say we should be moving our democracy a few notches high up, you say. So where you have another decision just say, oh, no, the police can do it alone, then it's like we've gone back. We've gone backwards.
Can the protesters or conveners, organizers of this protests, can they use the same court to set aside this order?
Yes, they can apply. They can apply and then try to persuade the judge to demonstrate why they should be allowed to go. Except that on the facts of the case, it's quite a tall order, especially with the EI 37, you know, the pandemic restrictions on the movement as a result of the pandemic. Yes, it's giving quite a legitimate reason. But I think that, look, they can do something middle of the road. For example, they can restrict the number of the demonstrators. Yes, okay. And then there will be social distancing. Let people demonstrate. It's cathartic, you know. When people are bottled up, they need a channel to let out the steam. They need a channel to let out the steam. So it's cathartic. When they finish demonstrating, then they are happy that, okay, at least we've had our say. I remember in, was it 1999, the Mobra struggle. Yeah, we went up to the Usu Castle. Yeah. And then eventually the police beat us up and everything. But you know, at the end of the day, we're happy that we had made our point. All right. So as for demonstrations, practically, look, we should be very slow to stop people from demonstrating. No.
Let's look at the reasoning again. And you brought the issue of the Restrictions Act. Indeed, we've seen several activities happening, even though we have this instrument still in place. We've adjusted it a few times. We did registration of voters. Indeed, there was voting. And before voting, we had a number of political activities. We've had people rise up once in a while to carry out some action. So is this absolutely convincing? Especially also because we're not, I mean, the cases that we're recording now is not as what we were recording back in 2020, late 2020, when we had all these political activities going on.
Yeah, you've nailed it. Absolutely, you've nailed it. It's not convincing. It's not. Especially as the number of people going to be involved in this demonstration doesn't appear to be that much. And as I've said, look, there can even be a concession that, look, will allow only 1,000 people, or maybe 500. Look, so that's middle of the road. So, you see, you know, we railed and railed, okay, against the compilation of a new voters register because of the pandemic. It fell on deaf ears. And then when it comes to the elections, of course, as for the elections, we all wanted to vote, okay? So that one, yes, and there was voting. And as you mentioned, there were political rallies. Those were super spreader events. Yet they went on and on and on. And then eventually culminated in the elections, you see. And yet today, when a few Ghanaians want to demonstrate, then police say, oh, there's COVID, there's EI 37, there's restrictions on this in demonstrations. It's not good. It just doesn't show that we are committed to protecting people's rights to vote, to demonstrate. We should do something about it. I think it's not late. You see, the fact that a court order has been made doesn't mean that the demonstrations have been cancelled. What I mean is that the two parties can agree, come together, and then go back to the judge to have the order lifted. Judgments and rulings are compromised all the time. A judge gives an order for one party, the parties are allowed in law to meet after and then to agree on something different. Then they will go to court and ask the judge to lift that order, or they will vary the judgment.
But political marketing expert Dr. Kobe Mensah says the posture of the government and the New Patriotic Party to the social media protests has been surprising, arguing that government's response has been uncoordinated.
They're all uncoordinated because they keep, saying different things at different times. And along the line, you even have a feeling that, some of them have actually shown remorse on what is, some of the things that they said. There was a counter position that even the Fix Yourself was not actually officially sanctioned. And so they're actually backtracking on that and then trying to say that we are fixing it, which they have actually issued a different, kind of hashtag. Whatever the case is, definitely the administration is listening, the officials are listening, and you would expect that, a party that actually prides itself with that kind of managerial approach to doing things would have actually responded in a very coordinated manner that people will be satisfied. But we haven't heard anything from them.
This is The Pulse. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Pulse. Now, the number of lives lost to road traffic accidents remains high despite campaigns and interventions by government and private institutions. From January to April this year, 1,034 people have been killed on Ghana's roads. Some of the accidents were caused when moving vehicles ran into stationary ones. As part of measures to ensure the fight against road crashes, the National Insurance Commission, NIC, and insurance companies in the country will begin a pilot program to tow broken down vehicles in August this year. A proposal for all vehicle owners in the country to pay a mandatory towing levy was rejected by many Ghanaians. Head of the NIC, Dr. Justice Ofori, gave further details about this pilot project on Upfront.
This idea has been floating around for some time. The Ghana Insurance Association had this in mind. They worked on this for over 2 years. We have the Vice President of the country, His Excellency, also showing a lot of concern. We've had several meetings with him, and he has actually expressed to find out what can we as insurers do to help. But there was a time that they wanted to propose a levy, which didn't actually go well. So we've had engagement with our regulated entities, the general business insurers, who had already been working on this in the past. And we feel that we should be able to find a mechanism within the current premium regime without raising any additional premium, because we know that all comprehensive vehicles in our country have the towing element in it. So we have to find out how we can actually take that towing element out and then use it as our give back to society. It's not going to be an easy thing, but we think we want to pilot it in Accra. Hopefully by August, we hope that we might have been able to start. And then start the pilot program in Accra at no cost to the consumer. But we all drive, and we realize that stationary or disabled vehicles on our roads are a danger to drivers and pedestrians. So whatever we can do to make our roads safe, we are going to start as an industry.
I'm sure that a lot of Ghanaians will be happy with that, because nobody wants to pay more in these times. And so let's look at this. You're taking the towing levy in the comprehensive insurance bit. Now, how much is that, and how much are you likely to generate with a number of comprehensively insured vehicles, and can it really achieve the goal?
So far as our pilot program is, we believe that we can, with Accra, we should be able to start something, and then we'll see. When we get to the bridge, we'll cross it.
But the general principle is you don't want this to cost
we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there.
Now, the Royal Boahin Koko family of the Sunyani traditional area has disputed claims by Nana Bofotia Boamponsem, the Kruntihini of Sunyani traditional area, that two hunters, Boahin Koko and Bofotia, are the originators of Sunyani. This follows JoyNews Ghana Month series story on the history of the name Sunyani. At a news conference in Sunyani, the Boahin Koko family insisted their forefather, Boahin Koko, is the sole originator, and warned the Kruntihini to seek clarification rather than distorting the undisputed facts and history of Sunyani. Precious Semevo has more.
The ancestors who settled here are Nana Boahin Koko and Nana Bofutia. They are the people and the hunters which came together to settle in Sunyani.
That is the portion of the interview granted JoyNews in the Ghana Month series, now in dispute. Clad in black, the displeased Boahin Koko family, at a press conference called by the family head, Nana Obriya Boa in Sunyani, noted the story shared widely on social media meant they had to correct the distortion of facts surrounding the founding father of Sunyani. They insisted it was only Boahin Koko and not with Bofutia. They said if they allow it to stand, it could mean they have to share the throne. Isaac Osei is a royal of the Boahin Koko family.
Sunyani history was distorted by saying that two hunters were the people who came together to establish the Sunyani town. That is absolutely not true. The issue bordered on the fact that Nana Boahin Koko, who happens to be the ancestor, was the one who came to settle here, not necessarily two hunters. If you come out with the fact that two hunters settled here, it means you can actually also decide to share the throne with Nana Boahenkoko. That can distort the entire throne in future. There is nothing like the two families, the royal family and the Krontri family are at loggerhead. Nana Bosumaso Krewe is not even happy about the whole situation.
He also said their efforts to have an amicable resolution with the Krontinghini of the Sunyani traditional area, Nana Bofutia Bwamponsem, proved futile.
Royal family went to the extent of even trying to invite him so that we could settle this matter amicably. I don't know the reason behind. He did not honor the invitation. We don't have any serious problem with him as a Krontinghini. All that we are saying is that issues bordering on the history of Sunyani, he needs to seek the consent of Nana before he comes out publicly to say anything. Because if he had actually gone to Nana, perhaps what he said could have been corrected from that point.
Nana Boahenkoko, the Achimpemhene of the Sunyani traditional area, said they don't also want the skewing of the historical facts to influence authors in their work. The historical utterances of chiefs are sometimes used as content of books, so a distorted fact means distorted content, and we want to avoid that. At the right time, the chiefs will provide details of the story of Sunyani. For Joy News, Precious Semevo, Sunyani.
Now, after decades of unresolved, protracted disputes between feuding factions in Osu, chiefs in the area have decided to smoke the peace pipe. The death of the Osumanche Ni Okwe Kinka Dona VI in February may have played a role in uniting the people. Feuding factions have finally decided to give peace a chance as they plan a befitting burial for the late Osumanche Ni Note Eduma Osiahene IV, who led the peace talks, says the new era will help foster redevelopment in Osu and its environs.
This is history. It has taken us a very longer time to arrive here. It has been a very long time this tussle has been on. Dispute, confusions all over the place. We have had two or many factions for quite a time. I belong to one of the factions, and therefore, before, there was no way you will see me today as you are seeing me with the other side. But we have sat down, we have thought through a lot of things, and we think that it's no longer important. At least as leaders that are installed, we are to serve our people. We are also to bring development. And that is not of a fight. We are not to bring dispute and confusion, because confusion and dispute benefit us nothing. But we believe that unity is what is actually going to move Osu forward for the benefit of the people. Before, today, when you come here and you mention Osiahene, one will tell you, yes, he is Osiahene. The other side will tell you he is not. Today, I think I am privileged. I am so fortunate among the very few traditional office holders or rulers that has been accepted by all in his community. So today, I know when you walk around and you mention Osiahene, then Osiahene will be one. My purpose is just to make sure that I bring my ideas and support to the table to make sure that we move Osu forward.
Now, that was Ni Note Eduma Osiahene IV speaking after his installation as the temporal king of Osu. Now, during his brief tenure, Ni Note Eduma Osiahene IV says he will focus on improving access to education in the area.
Osu is lacking a lot. One may think when they see Oxford and see some of the buildings arising, then springing up around the areas, then Osu is developing. But the people are not developing. There has been a lot of it. In fact, education, a whole lot. So it's like we are stuck at one place, and the whole rest has been fight. Today, I'm going to make sure that I also join hands with the JASI and the Traditional Council and all other elders to make sure that at least we get education. health facility for our people, because Osu can do it. We can do it on our own. We have enough to take care of our old or the aged. So these are some of the things that I'm going to look at. But I think education is the most important agenda that we're going to make sure we work with.
The residents of Ejisu in the Ashanti region are up against the reappointments of the municipal chief executive, claiming she has failed to tackle critical challenges in the area, including sanitation and security. They have petitioned the president after staging a protest in the municipality. Emmanuel Osei has more.
The petitioners claim under the watch of the MCE, waterlogged areas are being converted for building projects, leading to flooding anytime it rains, poor sanitary conditions at the market, and the collapse of the school feeding program are of grave concern. Dennis Osei is leader of the group.
If you are an MCE, you are there to supervise the good course of the municipality, but not to supervise whatever will bring disaster. What we are envisaging is that the wetlands that they are encroaching can bring a artificial disaster in the community. Sewadechi, since her assumption into office, her supervision under the school feeding program is nothing to write home about. Sanitation. You have gone to the market, you want to buy foodstuffs, and there is raw food surrounding the whole market. And we have a transfer station in the market, which the woman is supervising that they will leave a rest food dump for there for almost 2 to 3 weeks to rot and flies, whatever. The woman, we don't want her.
The Ejisu in Kosohene, Nana Kofi Opoku, received the petition from the protesters. The place used as a market by the woman is very bad. I informed her of a land I acquired, which could be used as an open market. Up to today, she has taken no step. She shows no respect to us. I will forward this petition to the president that we do not want this MCE. Traders in the municipality wore red armbands to register their frustration against the MCE.
Every now and then, we are asked to vacate this place. We have nowhere to trade. We are suffering. If a market is constructed for us, we will move in. Until then, we will continue to remain on the pavement. We are always driven out. Even food items are thrown into the gutter.
Reporting for JoyNews, Emmanuel Osei, Kumasi.
Now, there's rising tension and accusations over alleged illegal sale of government lands to private developers in the Tamale metropolis by the Lands Commission, a situation which some affected residents and traders say, if not checked, will lead to serious security breaches in the metropolis. The latest to be hit hard by the land sales are wood traders at the Tamale Timber Market, who this morning are protesting over the sale of their lands there. JoyNews' Hashmin Mohammed visited the scene and has come through with this report.
Sounds of angry timber widows at the Tamale Timber Market. They are unhappy over the Lands Commission decision to allocate a vast portion of the land they squat to a private developer. Ibo Yahya is the secretary of the timber traders.
Yes. We came, pour gravel, pour this thing with the charcoal dealers. Yes. We suffered a lot. And now timber market is growing. People are decided to say they are coming to buy. If that person had money, he should also go and buy another place and develop. That is how Tamale develop. He shouldn't come and sack us and go there. These forests, we start with them. We are paying forest dues.
Poor management and illegal grabbing of government lands by powerful persons connected to the Lands Commission has become widespread in Tamale, and the effect of this action is hitting hard on some of the traders, and they have vowed to protect their livelihood. Anasa Yiwu is a trader.
Better place to go. Even PhD holders in Ghana, they don't have work. Yes. And we are here making our daily bread. We don't want to go to any place and be sitting down and be doing some criminal other things. We don't have anything doing. We have our business here. If the government is going to sell to...
They also say they are in a financial position to acquire the land if offered to them by the Lands Commission. Here is Yusuf Al-Hassan.
So where do you want us to go? Sit here. Even our grandfathers, they were here. So if you are sacking it, where do you want us to go? We are not going anywhere. We are not even going anywhere. What will happen will happen. We can also buy the place. We will contribute to buy.
In the year 2015, a 5-member fact-finding committee set up by the Northern Regional Security Council (RECSEC) to investigate alleged illegal sales of government lands concluded in its report that sales of land were done with impunity to an extent that even open spaces left around official bungalows of some heads of institutions were all sold to private developers, and they recommended to RECSEC to act to reverse the lawlessness. Reporting for JoyNews from Tamale, Hashmin Mohammed.
Pure grit and unbroken resolve to prevail. That's the story of Sandema Senior High Technical School, which has just won the first contest of the Upper East Regional Qualifiers of the 2021 National Science and Maths Quiz. The 3 contestants from the school were the only ones wearing their bright yellow uniforms in the entire Bolgatanga Nat Hall, with more than 200 people. This reason is simple. The one-time quarter-finalists have no bus in their school, so they had to settle for a rickety 5-seater Tata Mahindra pickup to bring them from Sandema all the way to Bolgatanga. The absence of a support base did not deter them from winning their contest. My colleague Manuel Kranting reports.
Getting there was some pressure, but when you get there, you are sat. Then for the first question, the second question, the pressure went down. So, and I had him to sit there. Yeah.
Answering the first 2 questions, the pressure went down, and then you had him too. But the question is difficult because quiz mistress says that even though you qualified with 37 points, you could have done so much more.
Yeah, because there are some of the questions that we had the answers like in the speed race, which we should have ranked to get more points, but due to, let's say, reduction of points and the fear in us, no confidence, we couldn't rank for them. And there are a lot of some petty mistakes that we've committed, which would have increased our points more than what we had.
I see. Tell me, I looked in auditorium and I saw just 3 of you together with your trainer, making 4. I mean, there are a lot of other schools that have brought as many as 20, as 30, as many as 30 students and all. You didn't feel, intimidated at all?
Yeah, we felt that intimidated with the fact that we wish if we could get our students here so that they can also back up and give support, but due to lack of our school bus, we don't have school bus, so we couldn't get many to bring. We just afforded only 3 for the meantime.
Okay, so how are you feeling? Was it intimidating for you?
Yes, really. Yeah. So it says like we are the only 3, and now if in case we get a question right, the clapping of the hands to give us the morale ahead, we are not getting it. But as you see other schools bringing much more students, it's really some feeling bad. So, but
eventually succumbed that and went over to win. How did you do that?
That's why I earlier said it's just a whim, thinking that you can do it and you are going to win. So with that, you eventually become the winner.
But say, how is it that you don't have enough of your students here to support your candidate?
I wish we could have brought the whole school here to give us the support, but it's unfortunate our school doesn't have a bus. For about the past years, since 2012 that I joined the school, they have been having issues with transport. It's only the pickup that is on the route, and even at times it goes and leaves you on the way. You have to get down to find your own means. So because we don't have a bus, that's why we only brought the 3 students and the teacher. We wish we would have brought a lot of students.
You think that if you had more students here, they would have been more confident?
Oh, if we had more students, we would have passed the 50 mark because the club would have gingered them to answer more.
So now there's another qualifier tomorrow. What should we expect from you?
We committed some petty errors. We hope to work on that and then come back strongly tomorrow to qualify for the national competition.
Very inspiring story there. Manuel Kranting is joining us live from Bolga. He's joining us via Zoom. Manuel, describe for us how this day's competition panned out.
Well, Daniel, the
first day in the Upper East region has not been as sparkling as you would have expected. Of course, there was almost fireworks in the Upper West region when you had really competitive contests. In the Upper East region, was saved the very first two contests, which, Sunday Mass Senior High Technical School, you just heard from them. They won the first contest. The second contest was won by Notre Dame Seminary. And just after that contest, it's been quite ironically a battle for who gets the least points. For instance, in the third contest for the day, it ended with some schools having negative. So Tempani, for instance, had a -1 score. Tempani Senior High School had a negative score. And the one that just ended also, it took the very last contest for Sunday Mass Senior High School to move from a negative into a positive score. So the very last two contests have not been so eventful, but all in all, we have 4 winners for the day. First of all, Sunday Mass Senior High Technical School, which quite interestingly, came to the auditorium all the way from Sunday Mass without support. So there was no support base for the team. It was just a 3-man team that was able to bulldoze its way to book a spot in the final qualifier come tomorrow. Then the second contest, like I just said, of course, Sunday Mass Senior High Technical won by 37 points. Then the second contest was won by Notre Dame Seminary with 41 points. And then the third contest was won by Zibila with 15 points, Daniel, 15 points at the end of 4 competitive rounds. And the one that just ended was won by Zamse Senior High Technical School with 21 points. So all these 4 schools will together, be attempting to book a place in the final, competition in Accra. They'll be joining Navrungo Senior High School. Now, that school was a seeded school in the 2020 edition of the competition. And so they are out of the qualifiers. So the 5 remaining schools from today's contest and then tomorrow's winning teams will battle it out for the 5 slots. And then they will join Navrungo Senior High School into, first of all, the zonal, the Northern Zone competition, which will be held in Tamale sometime next week. And then, of course, the national tournament that will be held in October later this year, Daniel.
Describe there, Manuel. I hope it gets more exciting in the coming days. Do you know where you move to next from the Upper East region?
And from the Upper East region, we're doing a sandwich of 3 regions. The Northeast region, we are doing the Northeast region, the Savannah region, and the Northern region. And so these 3 regions, because of an amalgam that has been created by Primetime, the NSMQ team, all these 3 regions will be coming together to meet in the Northern region, Tamale to be specific, and then they'll battle it out from the 10th. And then after that, we'll have a zonal competition that will feature all the Northern regions, talking about the Upper East, Upper West, Northeast, Savannah, and then the Northern region.
Manuel Kranting, thank you very much for joining us with those updates. You're live on The Pulse. And this is where we wrap up the final edition of The Pulse for the week. Many thanks for joining us. Up next is Let's Talk Showbiz LTS. Enjoy the weekend. See you Monday.